Okay, another piece of advice that I've just come up with over the year, nobody told me this, but I would say have a side hustle. Like in the spring when it gets really quiet, you'll want to have something else that earns you money. Some people work in pubs and bars. I've heard of some people editing. Any side hustle that you can do that's very flexible. Some people go back to working the job they had before they were in the film industry. If that's possible, that's probably a really good idea. But yeah, any kind of side hustle that you can do that actually earns money. Basically you want a second job that you can transfer to in quiet seasons. And yes, before you say it's really annoying that to support ourselves in a career, we have to have another career outside of it. Doesn't make any sense. It's just one of those things. It means you can have a richer life because you get to do more things. Basically, that's how I see it. This is a really specific one, but one that I talked to a trainee who wasn't doing this, and that is texting loaders after you've worked with them to either say thank you or a few weeks later to say, hey, I'm available for a job if you need me to do one. I talked to a trainee who had finished a long job with 2 loaders and just sort of was, I guess she might have been told that she was going to be coming on the next job, or she was sort of expecting to at least get offered some more days by these guys, but they just never messaged her again. They started another long job and they hired a different trainee. It happens all the time because some loaders just don't like working with the same people all the time, so they'll hire someone else, or they assume you're busy, or they'll assume that you don't want to work with them again because you haven't sent a text saying, hey, I'd love to work with you again, if you need me, I'm free. It can be a really simple text like that. I mean, you don't want to be writing paragraphs or even a paragraph, honestly. Hey, hope you're well, just letting you know either I'm back from holiday or I finished that long job I was telling you about, I'm free for dailies if you need them. This is something I learned from experience. Have a spell, like have a time period where you're just doing dailies. I started my film career just doing long jobs, so I did 2 long jobs with exactly the same team, and then after that I was like, oh, I don't know anyone. I'd been in the industry for 9 whole months, almost a year, and I only know about 2 or 3 focus pullers and a handful of loaders, which is not really enough. So definitely recommend doing a bit of time doing dailies, which is when you go work on different productions for a day or 2 or whatever. You'll just get your connections up. And I know people say that like, oh, it's not enough time to make a real impact on someone, but I've remembered girls that I've done single days with for ages, and there's been people that have come on for a production for a whole week that I could not tell you the name of. Like, it depends how much of an impression you make. So yeah, do a spell of dailies. Be chatty, be friendly, ask loaders about themselves, tell them a bit about yourself. Just keep conversation. You can do just long jobs. I don't know, for me in the long term it didn't work out. In the short term it's obviously, it's great when you just get in to do long jobs, and it's very financial, it's like much more financially secure. But for me doing dailies, I personally prefer doing dailies over long jobs. But even if you prefer doing long jobs, you should definitely have a bit where you're doing dailies just to get your name out there and to be a familiar face to people. So I said this in my other video, but have your own touchstone while you're working. You know, have your religion or your spirituality or your family or something, and keep developing it, because this industry is so all-consuming that it's easy to totally get lost in it. And then you see people in their 40s who are just like, that are just trudging along and they're obviously not enjoying it. Yeah, have your anchor point, your religion. Keep practicing it. Don't just become another person in the film industry who is exhausted and doesn't have anything that they do outside of work and all of their mates are in the industry. That's not where you want to end up. The industry is tiring and you want to be able to use the time off that you have productively. And for me, when I keep my religion up and I keep reading the Bible, all aspects of it improve. I get more motivated, I sleep better, I'm more productive, like all of it. And if your work becomes the thing that you live for, I think that's not a good hill to start down. Related to that basically is find your worth outside of this job. I know for most of us, it's been like a lifelong dream to get into the industry. For me, I knew that I wanted to work in film since I was about 13. So, and I've always been interested in cinematography and cameras and lighting and all this. So then when you get into the industry and you have to start defining yourself outside of that massive interest you've had, it can get quite tricky. But yeah, and for self-esteem issues, if you're out of work for like 4 months or something, if you've placed all of your worth in the fact that I'm a loader or I'm a camera trainee or I'm a focus puller, then when you're not getting work, you're like, well, what am I? If I'm not getting hired as the thing that I am I still that thing? I know that outside of this industry, I am a plethora of other things. So when I don't get hired, I don't take it personally, and I also don't question my own worth. But it's so easy to do that because this is, for a lot of us, this is a dream job. So the idea that you then have to define yourself away from the job is like, what? Why would I? I am a camera person. That is my thing. I am obsessed with cameras. But I still think outside of work, you need to be your own person. Even if you go and take 35mm pictures outside of work, you've still got something outside of work, you know? Yeah, also because otherwise your self-esteem is going to be totally affected. But if you're not getting hired, don't take it personally. Most of the time, if you're not getting hired, it's because there aren't, like, there's too many trainees at the moment for all the jobs that there are. And maybe someone's getting their mate in, or maybe someone's been told by production to get someone else in. It's not always personal. As long as you're trying to be the best trainee that you can be, you don't need to worry about it. You don't let it affect your self-esteem. Another thing, not to end on like a negative note, but you might get into the industry and realize that it's not for you at all and that you don't like it. And if you do realize that, you should try and get back out again. Don't do what a lot of people do and just stick with it. I'm sure this is what people do in other careers as well, but I've noticed there is a culture of like, haha, I hate my job, but what can you do? Like, this is my job now, so I'm just gonna live with it. And there are meme pages dedicated to how crappy film life is. I'll put some examples of the memes up now because they are funny, but they're also kind of like, oh god, this really is a bad career. And at first it's funny and it's reassuring to know that you're not the only person who's like, oh my god, this is awful. Like, these conditions are terrible. But just because there are other people agreeing with you about it doesn't mean that you should just settle for it. There's a massive likelihood that you'll get into the film industry and you won't enjoy it. And that's totally fine. Like, a lot of people work in the industry for a year and then leave it again. What you don't want to do is then go, oh, well, I'm 25 now, so this is just my life. Because at 50, you'll be operating and you'll still hate it. And you'll be like, damn, I really wish at 25 that I just moved and done something else. Like, in my opinion, if you don't like it now, you're not going to like it when you're an operator, because the conditions are pretty much the same, apart from when you're an operator, you're not, you know, running around making people coffees and carrying heavy equipment. Well, a lot of operators do carry the equipment, but the physical toll it takes on your body doesn't change from when you're a trainee to when you're an operator. You're still, if you're a Steadicam operator, you're still lugging heavy stuff about, you're still out in the rain, you're still out in the early morning or late at night, you're doing night shoots, you're having clawbacks, your schedule's getting messed around, you're not seeing your family. Yeah, admittedly, you get to leave 15 minutes before the trainees when you're an operator, but it doesn't really add up. If you don't like the lifestyle now, you should be comfortable with trying another career path. It's tricky because a lot of us have wanted to do this, like I said, since we were younger. But don't fall into this trap of just accepting it because this is your job now. Even the people who like working in film and TV will admit that it takes a lot out of you and you have to be very dedicated to do that. I hated hearing that before I got into the industry because I think I always deep down knew that I wanted to have more of a life outside of the industry, and you'd always get told by these people in the industry, like, you have to be really dedicated if you want to come in this industry. We're all really dedicated. It's not like everyone is super keen on set. You'll do some jobs where everyone on set is like, this is terrible and I want to go home. You can't let it suck your soul out because it's not worth it. It's just film and TV. Like, okay guys, that's my 2020 guide of how to stay sane in the film industry. I think I've found the work-life balance now, and I'm only gonna try and improve on that over the next year. So maybe next year I'll make another one of these videos. If this has been split into 2 parts, then thank you for watching. I hope this is useful. If you have questions, leave them in the comments. If you want me to do a video about a particular aspect that I talked about, I'm more than happy to do that. I could talk about this subject for years. Like, this is my passion project, how to survive in the film industry, because it's all I think about at the moment, because it's such a tricky career. Follow me on Instagram and subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you guys so much for watching, and bye!